He swore he'd never marry. She swore she'd never leave Nigeria. But when a Korean food empire heir met a Lagos spice merchant who could taste memories in every ingredient, fate had other plans. This is a story of flavor, family, and love that crossed oceans. The Lagos heat hit Min-jun like a wall of fire. He stepped out of the car, adjusting his designer sunglasses, already regretting this trip. He was 31, heir to Chongsan Foods, Korea's largest restaurant and food manufacturing empire, and he'd spent the last decade avoiding anything that looked like responsibility, especially marriage. His mother had paraded 50 eligible Korean women in front of him. Doctors, lawyers, CEOs' daughters. All polished, perfect, approved. All boring. "I don't want to marry someone my mother chose," he'd told his father countless times. "Then choose someone yourself," his father had replied. "But choose soon. I'm not getting younger." Now Min-jun was in Lagos, Nigeria, supposedly scouting for authentic West African ingredients to expand Chongsan's international line. Really, he was escaping another matchmaking dinner. His assistant, Dae-hyun, walked beside him through Balagan Market, looking miserable. "Sir, perhaps we should return to the hotel. It's too hot." "We came here for ingredients," Min-jun said. "So we find ingredients." The market exploded with life. Colors, sounds, smells he'd never experienced. Dried fish, fresh peppers, unknown spices. Women balanced baskets on their heads, calling out prices in Yoruba and English. Min-jun stopped at a small stall overflowing with spices. The smell was intoxicating, complex, layered, unlike anything in Korea. "You're looking for something specific?" a voice asked in perfect English. He turned. A woman stood behind the counter, early 30s, wearing a bright yellow Ankara dress. Her dark skin glowed with sweat from the heat, and her eyes held intelligence that made him pause. "I'm looking for authentic Nigerian spices," he said. She smiled. "Authentic? Or interesting? What's the difference?" "Authentic is what tourists think they want. Interesting is what actually tastes good." She picked up a small jar. "This is yuzaisa seed. Most people use the leaves, but the seeds have a peppery flavor that changes when you toast them. Creates depth you can't get anywhere else." Min-jun took the jar, opened it, smelled. His chef's instincts kicked in immediately. She was right, there was complexity there. "Who are you?" he asked. "Chidinma Okafor. People call me Chi. I run this stall with my mother." She gestured to an older woman weighing goods for a customer. "We've been spice traders for 3 generations." "Just a trader?" Min-jun asked. "Or do you know how to use them?" Chi's smile widened. "I'm a food scientist. Graduated top of my class at University of Lagos. I could tell you the chemical compounds in every spice here, or," she leaned forward, "I could tell you which ones will make your grandmother cry because they remind her of home." Min-jun felt something shift in his chest. "Show me." "Show you what?" "Everything. Teach me about Nigerian spices. I'll pay you as a consultant." She studied him carefully. "You're Korean?" "Yes. My family owns Chongsan Foods." Recognition flickered in her eyes. "The restaurant empire. I've read about your company. Then you know we're serious about quality." She glanced at her mother, who was watching with curious eyes. Then back at Min-jun. "I charge 50,000 naira per day." Dae-hyun gasped. "That's fair," Min-jun interrupted. "When can you start?" "Tomorrow. 6 a.m. If you can handle waking up that early." Min-jun smiled. "First time in months. I'll be here." The next morning, she took him to places tourists never saw. Small farms outside Lagos where pepper grew wild. Factories where women ground spices by hand. Markets that opened before dawn. She talked as they walked, explaining everything. "This is Adarodo, Scotch bonnet pepper. But the heat isn't the point. The point is the flavor underneath. Fruity, almost floral. Most people just taste fire." Min-jun tasted everything she offered, taking notes, asking questions. He hadn't felt this excited about food in years. "Why aren't you using your degree?" he asked as they sat in a small chop bar, eating jollof rice. Chi's expression shifted. "I tried. Got a job at a food company in Victoria Island. They paid well, had air conditioning, everything. What happened? I realized I was creating process nonsense. removing the soul from food to make it shelf-stable. My mother's spice stall? It's small, but everything there has history. Purpose. She looked at him directly. Money isn't everything. Min-jun thought about Chongsan Foods. Hundreds of restaurants. Thousands of employees. His father's pride. No, he said quietly. But it helps. Does it? She challenged. You came all the way to Lagos to escape something. Was it money you were running from? Min-jun stared at her, shocked. She'd seen right through him. Responsibility, he admitted. Expectations. My family wants me to marry, take over the business, produce heirs. Like I'm a product, not a person. She nodded. My family wants me to marry too. Nice Igbo boy, preferably a doctor or engineer. Someone who can take care of me. She laughed bitterly. As if I can't take care of myself. Something passed between them. Understanding. What if we made a deal? Min-jun said suddenly. What kind of deal? Come work for me. Really work for me. Not just consultation, full partnership. Help me develop Chongsan's African line. 6 months in Korea. Chi's eyes widened. You're crazy. Maybe. But you're wasted selling spices in a market stall when you could be creating something revolutionary. And what do you get out of this? Min-jun smiled. Time. If I'm focused on business, my mother can't force me into marriage meetings. And I get the best food scientist in Lagos. She leaned back, studying him. You're serious. Completely. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, I want a real contract. Fair salary. And my name on any products we develop. Done. And I'm not sleeping with you. Min-jun laughed. I wasn't asking. Good. Because I'm not interested in some rich Korean boy who thinks he can buy whatever he wants. Even better, Min-jun said. I'm not interested in women who agree with everything I say. She extended her hand. Then we have a deal. When Min-jun shook her hand, he felt electricity. But he told himself it was just excitement about the business opportunity. He was lying. The next 3 weeks changed everything. Chi showed Min-jun a Lagos he never knew existed. They cooked together in her family's small kitchen, experimenting with fusion dishes. Korean gochujang mixed with Nigerian adadindin. Kimchi spiced with yuzaisa. Suya seasoned bulgogi. Every dish was a revelation. Min-jun's father called weekly. When are you coming home? Soon. I'm working on something important. More important than your family? Min-jun glanced at Chi, who was arguing with a pepper farmer about fair prices, her voice passionate and strong. Maybe, he said quietly. Chi's mother, Mama Okafor, watched them with knowing eyes. One evening, as Min-jun helped wash dishes, something that shocked the entire family, she pulled Chi aside. That boy looks at you like you're the son. Mama, stop. It's just business. Business doesn't make a man smile like that. She wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Because she'd been noticing things too. How Min-jun remembered she liked her tea with milk and sugar. How he learned Yoruba greetings to be polite to the market women. How he listened when she spoke, really listened. One night, they worked late in Chi's small laboratory space above the stall. She was explaining the chemical properties of fermented locust beans when Min-jun suddenly said, "Come to Korea with me." Chi's hand stilled over her notebook. We already agreed. Not for work. I mean, yes for work. But also, he ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. I don't want to go back without you. Min-jun. I know this is crazy. I know we barely know each other. But every day I spend with you, I feel like I'm waking up. Like I've been asleep my whole life and he stopped. You're real. Everything about you is real. Chi's heart pounded. This isn't, we can't. Why not? Because you're Korean and I'm Nigerian. Because your family will never accept me. Because you're scared? His voice was gentle. Chi felt tears prick her eyes. Yes, I'm scared. I've built a life here. My family needs me. My mother's stall. Your mother wants you to fly, she told me. Chi's breath caught. She told you what? That you're too big for this stall. That you've been afraid to leave because you're worried about her. But she's strong. She'll be fine. The question is, will you? Chi looked at him, this Korean man who'd stumbled into her life 3 weeks ago. Who'd eaten everything she'd cooked without complaint. Who'd helped her mother carry supplies. Who'd learned to haggle in Yoruba? Who looked at her like she was extraordinary? If I come to Korea, she said slowly, it's for the work. Not for you. Min-jun smiled. Whatever you say. I'm serious. I believe you. And if your family treats me badly, I'm leaving. They won't. How do you know? Because if they do, I'll leave with you. She stared at him. He meant it. Okay, she whispered. I'll come. Korea was nothing like she imagined. Beautiful, yes. Clean, organized, efficient. But also cold, not just the weather, but the people. From the moment she arrived at Incheon Airport, she felt eyes following her. Some curious, some hostile. A black woman in Korea wasn't unusual anymore, but a black woman with Min-jun, the Chongsan heir? That was news. The first week was brutal. Min-jun had installed her in a nice apartment, given her an office at Chongsan headquarters, introduced her as the new director of global flavor innovation. But the staff whispered. Some in Korean, thinking she wouldn't understand. Some in English, not caring if she did. Where did he find her? Africa? Really? She's probably just after his money. She held her head high and worked. She studied Korean ingredients, tested combinations, created fusion recipes that made the test kitchen staff gasp, despite their prejudice. Min-jun was there every day, working beside her. Ignore them, he said. Easy for you to say. They're not calling you a gold digger. They're jealous. Because you're brilliant and they know it. But the real test came when Min-jun's mother arrived unannounced at the office. Mrs. Han was tiny, elegant, terrifying. She swept into Chi's office wearing a designer hanbok, her expression carved from ice. So, you're the Nigerian girl. Chi stood, bowing respectfully. Yes, ma'am. Chidinma Okafor. It's an honor. Save it. Mrs. Han's English was perfect. I know why you're here. My son thinks he's in love. He's always been romantic and foolish. Chi's stomach tightened. Mrs. Han, I'm here to work. On my son? Or on the company? She stepped closer. Let me be clear. Min-jun is my only child. The heir to everything we've built. You are a distraction. A phase. And phases end. She felt anger flare. With respect, ma'am, your son is a grown man. And I'm not some naive girl who... You're exactly that. Mrs. Han's voice was sharp. You think because he took you to some nice restaurants, gave you a fancy title, that you belong here? You don't. You never will. The words hit like physical blows. My son will marry a Korean woman from a good family. Someone who understands our culture, our business, our world. You are temporary. Mrs. Han turned and walked out, leaving Chi shaking with rage and hurt. That night, Chi called her mother in Lagos. Mama, I can't do this. She's right, I don't belong here. Did that woman make you feel small? Yes. Good. Now prove her wrong. She wiped her tears. How? By being exactly who you are. Don't shrink for anyone, my daughter. You're an Okafor. We don't bow to anyone. She hung up feeling stronger. Her mother was right. The next morning, she walked into the office with her head high. If Mrs. Han wanted war, she'd get it. But she would fight with excellence. 2 months later, Chongsan Foods held its quarterly innovation showcase. Every department presented new product ideas to the board and key investors. She had been working 16-hour days on her presentation. Not just fusion recipes, but a complete line, Korean African condiments, spice blends, ready-to-eat meals that honored both cultures without diminishing either. Min-jun had helped, but it was her vision. Her passion. When she walked into the boardroom, she felt every eye on her. Mrs. Han sat at the head of the table, expression unreadable. Board members whispered. She set up her presentation and began. She didn't apologize for her accent. Didn't soften her confidence. She spoke about flavor profiles, market opportunities, cultural authenticity. She presented test kitchen results showing her fusion dishes outperformed traditional options by 300% in blind taste tests. Then she brought out samples. Kimchi infused with suya spice. Jollof rice cooked with Korean short grain rice and gochugaru. Chin-chin cookies flavored with sesame and honey. The board tasted. One by one, their expressions shifted from skepticism to surprise to delight. Even Mrs. Han took a bite. Her face remained neutral, but she saw her take a second bite. "Where would you source these ingredients?" a board member asked. "I've already established partnerships with suppliers in Nigeria and Korea. Fair trade, sustainable, with quality guarantees. Production timeline? We could have the first products on shelves in 6 months. Market research?" She pulled out data. She'd done her homework. Every question, every doubt, she had an answer. When she finished, the room was silent. Then one board member started clapping. Then another. Then the whole room. Except Mrs. Han. But when voting came, even she raised her hand to approve the project. Phase 1 approved, the chairman announced. "Ms. Okafor, you'll lead the team. Congratulations." She bowed, her heart soaring. As everyone filed out, Mrs. Han approached her. "My office. Now." She followed, bracing herself. In the private office, Mrs. Han poured tea with precise movements. "Sit." She sat, confused. "That was impressive," Mrs. Han said quietly. "I don't say that often." "Thank you." "But it doesn't change anything." The coldness returned. "You're still not suitable for my son." She had had enough. "With respect, Mrs. Han, I'm not trying to be suitable. I'm trying to do my job and live my life. If your son wants to be part of that life, that's his choice. Not yours." Mrs. Han's eyes widened. No one spoke to her like that. "My mother raised me to be strong," she continued. "To know my worth. Your disapproval hurts, but it doesn't define me. I'm staying in Korea because I have work to do. Not because I'm chasing your son." For a long moment, Mrs. Han said nothing. Then, surprisingly, she smiled. "You have fire. I respect that. Does that mean?" "It means I won't stand in your way. But I won't help you either. If you want my son, you'll have to prove you're strong enough to handle everything that comes with him." She met her gaze steadily. "I am." Mrs. Han nodded. "We'll see." The product launched 6 months later was a massive success. Seoul meets Lagos became Chongsan's fastest-growing line. International food critics praised the innovation. Korean consumers loved the bold flavors. Nigerian communities in Korea felt seen and represented. She became famous almost overnight. Magazines interviewed her. TV shows invited her. She was offered positions at competitor companies. But she stayed with Chongsan. Because Min-jun was there. They hadn't hidden their relationship anymore. After the board presentation, Min-jun had taken her hand in front of everyone and said, "She's mine. Anyone who has a problem with that can leave." No one left. They moved slowly, dates in quiet restaurants, walks along the Han River, cooking together in her apartment. Min-jun learned to make a gusi soup. She mastered kimchi jjigae. "My mother called," Min-jun said one evening. "She wants to have dinner with us." She tensed. Both of us. Both of us." The dinner was formal, tense. Mrs. Han asked pointed questions about Chi's family, her background, her intentions. But she answered honestly. No pretense. No performance. At the end of the meal, Mrs. Han said, "My son loves you." "I see that now." "I love him too," Chi said simply. "Love isn't always enough." "No. But it's a start." Mrs. Han studied her. Then, surprisingly, she reached across the table and took Chi's hand. "My husband died when Min-jun was 10. I raised him alone, built this company alone. I was afraid of anyone taking him from me." Chi squeezed her hand. "I'm not taking him. I'm standing beside him." Tears gathered in Mrs. Han's eyes. "Promise me you'll take care of him." "I promise. If you promise to give us a chance." Mrs. Han nodded. "I promise." 1 year later, Min-jun took Chi back to Lagos. To the same market where they'd met. To her mother's spice stall. The stall looked different now, bigger, renovated, with a proper sign. Okafor Spices, supplying excellence since 1982. Chongsan had invested in the business. Mama Okafor now employed 12 women and exported to Korea regularly. Min-jun had asked Mama Okafor's permission weeks ago over video call. "I want to marry your daughter. But I want to do it properly." Mama had cried. "You have my blessing. But ask her properly, Nigerian style." So Min-jun had learned about traditional Igbo marriage proposals. He'd gathered ingredients: a Bible, cola nuts, palm wine, cash, fabric. Now, surrounded by Chi's family, the entire market community, and a few Korean friends who'd flown in, Min-jun knelt. "Chidinma Okafor," he said in careful Igbo, making the crowd laugh and cheer, "you taught me that the best flavors come from mixing what seems impossible. Korean and Nigerian. Sweet and spicy. You and me." He pulled out a ring, designed by a Korean jeweler using Nigerian gold and Korean jade. "Will you marry me? Will you keep teaching me? Will you build this life with me, no matter how complicated it gets?" She was crying, laughing, nodding. Yes. 1,000 times yes. When he slipped the ring on her finger, the market erupted. Drums played. Women danced. Someone brought out pepper soup and suya. Mrs. Han, who'd flown in secretly, stepped forward. "Welcome to the family," she said, embracing Chi officially. 6 months later, they married twice. First, a traditional Igbo wedding in Lagos with hundreds of guests, bright fabrics, and dancing that lasted all night. Then a small, intimate ceremony in Seoul with family and close friends. At the Seoul reception, she gave a speech in Korean, still accented, still imperfect, but hers. "I came to Korea scared and uncertain. But I learned something important. Home isn't a place. It's the people who choose to stand beside you." She looked at Min-jun. "You chose me when I was nobody. When I was just a spice trader in a market stall. You saw something in me I didn't always see in myself." She turned to Mrs. Han. "And you chose to give me a chance. To see past your fear and accept me into your family. That means everything." Then to her mother, "Mama, you taught me to never shrink. To know my worth. I'm standing here today because you made me strong." She raised her glass. "To families that expand. To love that crosses oceans. To flavors that shouldn't work but somehow become perfect." Everyone raised their glasses. To love. 3 years later. Seoul meets Lagos had expanded into 20 countries. Chi was now Chongsan's Chief Innovation Officer, one of the youngest executives in the company's history. Min-jun ran the international division, traveling between Korea and Nigeria regularly. They'd just finished building a culinary school in Lagos, a joint venture between Chongsan Foods and the Okafor family. It would train young Nigerians in both traditional and international cuisine. At the school's opening ceremony, she stood with her hand on her pregnant belly, Min-jun beside her. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That I'm grateful. For everything. Even the hard parts." "Especially the hard parts," he corrected. "They made us stronger." She smiled. "Our daughter is going to have an interesting life. Korean and Nigerian. Spicy and sweet. Just like her mother. And stubborn like her father." Min-jun laughed. "Perfect." As they watched students file into the new school, Chi thought about the journey. From a market stall to corporate boardrooms. From doubt to certainty. From 2 different worlds to one shared life. Love hadn't been easy. But nothing worth having ever was. "Ready to go home?" Min-jun asked. Chi looked at him. "Which one? Does it matter?" She kissed him. "No. Because home is wherever we are. Together." If you enjoyed this story of flavor, courage, and love that crossed oceans, please like, share, and subscribe for more incredible tales.